strangely enough, for as much as I'm kind of iffy on, like, prequels and sequels and pre-sequels and seek prequels and prequel sequel twice removed, but you gotta watch the first one in order to understand the third one, and then you gotta watch the mini 6 episode TV series in order to understand this reference. And ugh, for as much of that crap is going on still to this day in Hollywood, sometimes there are prequel movies that actually kind of work. Not, I wouldn't say, entirely work, but they kind of work. So they're decent, if you will. And that's kind of where Wonka comes in. So I've been meaning to review this one for a while, but the problem is that I couldn't really put into exact words how to describe it other than just very simplistically pleasant. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad film. It wasn't the greatest film ever and it beats the Gene Wilder film and it beats the Tim Burton film and it beats all the other Willy Wonka films. No. And look, it certainly is leagues better than the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka film. Yes, I've seen it. Yes, I will maybe review it another day. Yes, it's bad. But aside from that, Wonka was actually pretty decent. First off, I gotta give a special shout out to Synergy, because they were kind enough to hook me up with a free movie ticket. Because I went to the Tulsa State Fair a while back with one of my partners, and we wound up winning a grand prize thing, and we spun the wheel, and I was like, here's 2 free movie tickets and free popcorn and a free drink, and go see a movie. So we went to Synergy for the first time, and we saw Wonka because we were like, sure, why not? So how is the actual movie? The movie is actually, like I say, very simplistically pleasant. The actors and actresses do a pretty just standard, relatively okay job with the characters and kind of the idea and representation of where this takes place and kind of the structure of this prequel. So for those who don't know, this is supposed to take place in not only the same universe as the original books, but as the Gene Wilder film, the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory film. This takes place before he got the factory, before he even came to, I kind of want to say America, but it's not even really specifically said in the film either. I guess before he made it to insert country here. I'm going to assume somewhere, right? So this was before he had the factory, and kind of how he was presenting his chocolate and his candies to the world and sort of pitching the idea, and kind of his hardships and struggles of trying to, become successful, get a loan from the bank, get his own factory, get his own place, all that. There's a little bit of comedy sprinkled throughout the film here and there, which is nice. The comedy is very lighthearted and very sort of just a mild sort of mini bittersweet compared to, say, again, the original Gene Wilder film. And the story itself actually is kind of interesting because, like I say, the story is more or less about, like, you know, the people he met along the way, how he, was created, how he created his chocolates, kind of his origin story a little bit, why he came to insert country here, so forth. And it honestly tells a pretty, I wouldn't say super fascinating story, but interestingly enough story of the background of Willy Wonka himself. His design is really cool. The outfits and the sort of the backdrops and the setting of the whole movie is really nice. It's very kind of like rustic, early, like, I almost want to say, like, dirty, like 70s, even 60s, kind of like, I don't want to even say steampunk because that's not the right word here, but like factory, smog working, run down kind of culture. And on top of that, like, it's fascinating because the writing in this film is more emphasizing the hardships and the struggles of all the supporting cast, of Wonka himself, of the characters. You got a handful of baddies and bad guys trying to stop Wonka from being successful in the town and pitching his chocolate and his candies and trying to, like, uphold the standard, because it turns out that, oh, the whole town actually already sells chocolate, and they make a really big business and profit margin, and they don't want a competitor, aka Wonka, a newcomer, to come in and steal all their business. If you've seen enough movies like that, where, like, oh, well, big business is threatened by, small local business or entrepreneur somehow succeeds and wins the favor of the town and becomes more successful than the big business. Big business gets taken down because bad corporate, bad bads. You've seen then Wonka. So I will say that is, while the characters themselves are nice, the origin story of it is nice, and even the environment is cool, the whole sort of backdrop of the plot is kind of bland. And that's kind of my one major critique is that I found the whole big business versus small entrepreneur shtick kind of boring. But what carried the film was, again, the light, sort of bittersweet comedy, the darker, more morbid tones of Wonka's early life, kind of the fascinating, like, oh, how he got his origins and his roots to begin with, and so forth. And it's actually, there's a nice ending too. Definitely see this for the ending because it ties in really well with the original film, even as far as like having actual musical numbers in the film that both really represent the characters and also tie in to kind of, I want to say, the mythos of Wonka. So, and yes, the Oompa Loompas are in it too. There's even a reason to why the Oompa Loompas actually exist and how they know Wonka. I won't spoil it, but it is kind of funny that it's kind of there as more of like a mini subplot than like the actual origin itself. So, without spoiling anything, it's funny. So, by now you could probably go rent Wonka on digital or go still see it in theaters or something physically at this point. Would I recommend watching it? Yeah, watch it. Would I recommend fully, like, buying a, a $12 movie ticket? No. But would I recommend, like, an afternoon watch? Sure, why not? Anyhow, that's it for this one. I've got more to review. See ya.